Welcome to Sell Success, the podcast designed to help you close more sales and get into the top 10% in your industry. I'm your host, Mark Bowser. Why is being in the top 10% so important? Because all the gravy and all the money is found in the top 10%. So, let's get you there. In this first episode of Sell Success, we're going to be talking about a topic that everybody wants to talk about, and that is how do you close the sale? Now, right here at the beginning, let me just say this. Closing is a natural progression of the sales process, but it is not the process in and of itself. In other words, you have to be good at all aspects of selling, and we're going to be covering those in future episodes. You have to be good at prospecting. You have to be good at need assessment. You have to be good at building rapport and all the other processes that come before the closing process. Many years ago, there was a movie that had an absolutely awful line in it. It became a favorite quote for people. And that line was, "Always be closing." Now, I hate that quote because if you do exactly what it says, always be closing, you will kill your sale. Now, why will you kill the sale? Because you'll be creating buying tension at the wrong time. You'll be creating buying tension out of order. Buying tension can be good, and you can use that to help close the sale, but it has to be at the right time. And so there's a sequence to selling. So we are going to be talking about closing the sale in this particular episode, but I want to make it crystal clear that it is just part of the process. It's a very important part of the process, but it's not any more important than prospecting. It's not any more important than need assessment and so forth. You can be the best closer in the world, but if you are trying to close the wrong people who don't have the need or the capability of buying your product or service because your prospecting skills are weak, then you're not going to close many sales. Now, in my Sales Success seminar, I teach what I call the 19 indispensable closes every sales professional needs to know. And throughout the different episodes, we're going to be going through those many 19 closes, as well as other aspects of the selling process. Now, today I just want to share with you one of my favorite closes. I call it the John Hammond Close. Now, why do I call it the John Hammond Close? Because I learned it from John. Now, John was an older, wiser sales guru who had been in this world of selling for decades, had more experience in his pinky than probably all of us on this line today have in our entire bodies. He was just one of those great sales professionals. Now, John, he had a problem that he realized, and he came up with a solution. Now, the problem that he realized was that every once in a while, he would get a prospect who would say something to him that just didn't make sense. Have you ever had that happen? Everything's going great in the sales process. You're getting down to the closing, obligating questions, and all of a sudden they say something that just doesn't make sense. And you don't know where to go with it. They say something like this, "Well, I just want to sleep on it." Or, "I just want to think it over and roll it around in my head for a while." What do you do with that? Now, literally what they're doing is they're trying to push us off. They're trying to get rid of us. They're trying to make it easier on themselves so they don't have to say no because they don't want to make a decision that day. John got tired of hearing that. And so John developed his own close. And so, when you hear a prospect say something like that, John said to do this. Just say to the prospect, "Mr. and Mrs. Prospect, I know you have a really important reason for saying that. Do you mind if I ask what that is?" Another way you could put it is, "Mr. Prospect, I know you have an important reason for thinking that way. Do you mind if I ask what that is?" And then John said, "You just shut up." And this is not one of those cliches where it says, "Hey, the first one who talks loses." It's true here. Because you have to be quiet. Because what's going to happen in that silence is the buying tension is going to grow. And you want that buying tension to grow here. And what happens is Many sales professionals get so uncomfortable in that silence because the buying tension's growing on our end as well that we jump right in there and we kill our sale. So you ask that obligating question. Mr. Prospect, I know you have an important reason for feeling, thinking, or saying that, whichever way you choose. You have an important reason for thinking that way. Do you mind if I ask what that is? Then you go quiet. And if you wait long enough, in most cases, the prospect will say something like this. Well, you know, Mark, what I'm struggling with is I'm struggling with the price. Okay, well, it's a price now issue. You can deal with that. You've dealt with price issues before. You pull out one of the other closes that deal with price and cost. Or they might be talking about, you know, what I'm struggling with is if it can be delivered on time. Or it could be a number of different things. But when they open up to you, now they're telling you what the main objection is. This works. In fact, in that long selling career that John had, he only had a handful of people, he said, who would refuse to answer the question. And guess what? If they refuse to answer the question, they're probably not a prospect. They're a suspect. And it's time to move on anyway, and this flushes that out. And so use the John Hammond. Practice it over and over again. And pretty soon you will see your sales, I believe, go sky high. Because that one close can change. If you do all the other aspects of selling the right way, the prospecting and so forth, and all the way down the line, and then if you get that odd question that they say, that odd statement, for example, that I want to sleep on it, I want to think it over, use the John Hammond Close and see what it can do for you. Well, if you want to reach out to me, feel free to reach out to me at my website, markbowser.com. That's www.markbowser.com. On there, you can ask me a question, or you can check my speaking availability calendar, and so forth. If you want to get Sales Success or Thrown In, you can get that at Amazon.com or a bookstore near you. Well, until then, make it a great selling day. God bless you.